Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Binghamton City Council Business Meeting. It is Wednesday, August 27th at 6:04 p.m. I call the meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Madam Clerk, can we do a roll call, please?
Councilmember Murray.
Present.
Councilmember Middleton is absent. Councilmember Kavanaugh.
Present.
Councilmember Hotchkiss.
Present.
Councilmember Matavetsky.
Present.
Councilmember Rathmel.
Present.
Council President Dundon.
Present.
Thank you.
Can I have a motion to approve last meeting's minutes?
Make the motion.
Do I have a second? I'll make the second. Does anyone have any discussion on that? Hearing none, are all in favor to approve the minutes?
Aye.
Aye. Minutes approved. Reports from committees or commissions. Councilmember Matavetsky, did you have a traffic board you'd like to?
I was on vacation that week.
Okay.
That's it. We lost Bob. We did previously have a rules committee meeting about the fact that the traffic board is supposed to be providing, not just through me as traffic board rep from council, but the things that we need to be reviewing and determining whether or not we want to stand with the traffic board's decisions on. And I did send follow. I know I've been CCing our president on those emails. I don't know if anything came through. Yeah. So I believe there was one thing that we were supposed to be reviewing, but our attorney was checking with the assistant director of planning and all of that. So I am not up to speed on how to determine which of the decisions on traffic board come then before council versus which ones are not, which is why it filters through. And we have our attorney. Traffic board. Do you want to give us an update?
An update in terms of
Any items from the previous meeting that we should be discussing for reviewing?
let me pull it up real quick.
And to recap, it's been a long time since the city's been in compliance with its own rules relating to how traffic board and city council are supposed to interact together. And we are working on making sure that process is functioning again and that city council does have the review powers that it is granted and trying to make that work.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Rathmel, you look like you're reaching for your mic.
I was just wanted to represent that the Commission for the Conservation of the Environment met. Again, on the agenda primarily was a discussion regarding the City of Binghamton's blue bag, quote unquote, blue bag policy, the pay-as-you-throw policy. It is up on YouTube, but we are working toward, the commission is working toward putting together an analysis of the existing process as well as potential alternatives and modifications to consider before council for consideration within the next 2 months, I believe.
Thank you. Any other council member have any other meetings they'd like to report on? Hearing none, we'll move on. We have no public hearing to set, no public hearing, so we're going on to public comment. Residents wishing to submit public comment may do so electronically by emailing their comments prior to 1 p.m. on the day of the meeting to clerk@cityofbinghamton.gov or in person during the meeting. Anybody who'd like to speak at public comment, please come down now and speak. Please state your name and if you live or work in the city of Binghamton.
Kenneth Brown. I work and live in the city of Binghamton. I'll keep it quick today. I'll start with, I know Mayor Cram has been pushing hard for you to pass this cannabis enforcement law. I mean, at this point, I don't think we should be passing any more obligation onto a police department that needs a complete rewash before we do the rewash. I think we need to remove Zukoski and change the culture of the department before we give them any more power over us than they already have. Well, I'll talk about more of that later, but in regards to that, with Zukoski, it's been over 30 days. I don't know if the timeline was supposed to be 30 business days, 30 calendar days, but Friday the 22nd was 30 days. I know you guys don't have the answers to that, but I just wanted to put that out there, that 30 days technically has passed, so hopefully we'll hear something soon. I did like the Miles' idea of community input. I feel like that is a major thing that needs to happen if there's going to be any kind of trust. Not saying, we're all going to get our way, but it's better to have it heard than not. And then also, topic of the day, I guess, is the BPD. I don't know if any of you saw the video I posted. It was a video that I took or from any of my security cameras, but it was something I found online. Sunday night on Clinton Street, in front of what I'm assuming is the brass rail because it says brass cam in the corner, a BPD cruiser crashed into a parked car at about 10:57 p.m. No one else in the street really. A car passed about 30 seconds later, but it just seemed odd. He seemed to be going at a pretty fast rate of speed, crashed into the back of the car. I just think we should know what caused the accident or proper procedures taken to find out if there were drugs or alcohol involved, if it was not just an accident. I mean, from what I've heard, I know of at least 2, this could be 3 incidents this year of BPD cruisers being damaged. This is our tax money. I mean, we deserve to know how it's being spent and why it's being spent. And if this is just another issue, I think it feeds into the factor of the culture issue with the BPD. All right, thank you.
Thank you so much. Please state your name and if you live or work in the city of Binghamton.
Good evening. My name is Miles Burnett. I'm a Binghamton resident. Good evening, council members. I'm here today to call for a community-driven process when it comes to picking another police chief here in the city of Binghamton. As you know, we were told the investigation into the July 18th incident regarding Chief Zukoski would be completed promptly, yet more than a month has passed and our community still has no answers. The public deserves accountability, not uncertainty. Whether a decision on the next police chief must come in the coming months or in the coming years, it is clear this choice is too important to be made behind closed doors. The next chief will face the difficult task of bringing stability to the department, rebuilding public confidence, and leading critical police work. That person must be accountable to the people of Binghamton, not just City Hall. Public safety decisions should never be made in back rooms. They must be made with community's voice at the table. That is why I am calling for a community-driven process. This can be accomplished by holding town halls or public hearings where residents can ask questions and share concerns directly. We could also use surveys or focus groups with key stakeholders, including city council members, school board members, current and former police officers, and community organizations. Finally, I believe a public vetting of candidates will ensure that whomever is chosen has the credibility and respect needed to lead effectively. Right now, the process is far too narrow. Because of how our civil service system is structured, the city can only consider a very small list of candidates. Currently, about 4 officers in the Binghamton Police Department have taken the police chief exam. While those officers may be highly qualified, the number of choices is too limited for such an important decision. And instead of rushing, we should allow time for more Binghamton Police Department officers to take the exam when it becomes available in the coming months, so we have a larger pool of applicants, or candidates, I should say. We cannot build public confidence with a rushed process. Currently, the department has over a dozen vacant police positions, a shortage that underscores the need for thoughtful leadership and long-term planning. Improving public safety is also about how we treat and support those who serve. We should be focusing on initiatives that help us recruit, retain, and promote our first responders. That not only strengthens the pipeline for leadership positions like police chief, but also builds a healthier, more sustainable department that better serves our community. I grew up in a family of first responders, including current and former Binghamton police officers. I deeply respect the sacrifices they've made, and I believe as strongly that decisions about public safety must be made with the public's voice at the center. This is an opportunity to determine the future of policing in Binghamton. We cannot squander it with a rushed process, a limited pool of candidates, or a decision made by a single individual in an attempt to bury a scandal and avoid political backlash. The people of Binghamton deserve a say. Let's make sure they have one. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Hello, please state your name and if you live or work in the city of Binghamton.
Okay. All right. Hajra Aziz. I work in the city of Binghamton. I am the executive director for the Southern Door Community Land Trust. I'm here this evening to speak to, I believe, a discussion that has already been had within the council. And I just wanted to kind of represent the organization that I work for on that topic. The topic of the ARPA grant that was awarded to the Southern Door Community Land Trust. So I have been in front of the council several times in regard to our 6-unit apartment building, our housing project, the only permanently affordable housing project in Broome County. We have presented in several ways in regard to our ability to move this project forward and asking for support. So first, I want to say thank you to the council for hearing us and making space for us to be able to present on this project. And I also want to thank the council for bringing forth the dialogue around an amendment to the contract that we received from the city, particularly Councilwoman Rebecca Rothmel for spearheading this. But tonight, I just wanted to come to speak to it, to add just, I think a little clarification on the position that we've been placed in as an organization. So the amendment essentially would be something that would be beneficial not only to our organization, but also to immediately being able to proceed on this project. The amendment would be taking a look at the caveat that was placed in the grant agreement in regard to our organization needing to raise 70% of the estimated project cost before we could draw down on the ARPA grant. It is unduly hard. It is undue hardship on our organization to have to abide by that caveat. So I came to the council and I asked for some support in taking a look at what could be done. Our ask is that that be revisited. After review of others who have received funds from the same grant or budget line, there's only two differences that I can see. And the difference would be the infancy of our organization and the fact that we are a BIPOC-led organization. Those are the only two differences. And I think it's important that we take a look at why this has been placed in front of us so that there could be some dialogue as to how we can maybe move this boulder out of our way to move forward with a project that only our organization is looking to do in this community. Thank you.
Thank you. Please state your name and if you live or work in the city of Binghamton.
Hi, my name is Andy Pragus. I live on the south side, or south side. I don't live on the south side. I live on the west side. And looking forward to Porchfest this weekend. I'm here today to kind of reiterate what I said the last time that I was here talking about Chief Zukuski and his replacement. of course, I, like many people in the city of Binghamton, believe it's time to turn the page on the Zukoski era. He's been there for a long time, and frankly, we've seen the results. We've seen, frankly, scandal after scandal. This just being the latest one. There's not enough. There's positions that are going unfilled. The police department. And then you have things like what Kenny was just bringing up. We've all seen over the summer, right? Police driving erratically, unsafely. And that's an issue with the leadership, frankly, right? We all know that. So I just want to reiterate my concern about Chief Zukoski. And the real question now, of course, is what happens next? The real question is how a new chief police is picked. And who's that is going to be. Of course, we don't know what's going to happen with this investigation, but it's something that we need to start considering because right now it seems like a single person, Mayor Cram, is going to be the one making the decision. I personally don't have any confidence in that process, and frankly, I don't think any single person should have our confidence to make that decision. I think that the city council should be at the center of it. I think community organizations should be at the center of it. I think that it should be a wide process because we've seen, Chief Zukoski's been here for what, almost 20 years running the police force, something like that. It's a generational decision that will be made if that's the precedent. And it's not one that we should take lightly. It's not one that should be rushed. And it's something that deserves deep consideration about how our police department runs and how we want it to run for quite a long time. Beyond that, I just have to also say, again, echoing, I think what Kenny Brown said, is that under these circumstances, I've spoke before to this body about my opposition to the cannabis legislation supported by the mayor's office. It seems, frankly, irresponsible to add new duties to the police department while the chief of police is on leave for, the behavior and the incident that we all saw that involved racial antagonism and racist antagonism and what have you. So especially when there are other tools available, other options available to try to address the concerns that have been put forth. And I guess lastly, this is a bit of a mixed bag today in terms of a little jumble of what things are, but the Southern Door, it seems unconscionable to me that during a housing crisis, a deep housing crisis where people are on the street, where homelessness is going up, where rental prices are going up, that funding for the Southern Door has been held up for almost a year, and they've been unable to access it. It just seems totally unconscionable to me. I know City Council has been working, hard to ensure that they get the funding, but I, for the life of me, I just can't quite figure out how we're withholding funds to an organization that's doing incredible work, that knows our community, that is looking to bring units online, that's going to keep them affordable, keep people in their homes, and build good quality stuff. I'm just not quite sure why these funds are being held up. So I think I'll leave my comments there. But I want to urge the council to ensure that y'all have a voice, that y'all are part of the process in terms of what it means to be picking the next chief of police here in the city of Binghamton. In a real way, it's going to determine what that looks like. We've all seen the consequences of having Chief Zukoski here for so long, and frankly, having the chief of police that's been able to frankly wag the dog, right? The chief of police has, it's hard to tell sometimes who's in charge of City Hall. Is it the chief of police or is it the mayor? And frankly, I'm not sure. Needs to be accountable to, we need to make sure with the next chief that they're at least accountable to the public, because right now it seems that accountability is hard to come by for that top job. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Anyone else wishing to come down and speak? Madam Clerk, do we have any comments that need to be read? Oh. So sorry. Please state your name and if you live or work in the city of Binghamton.
Dave Halloran, live at 35 Matthew Street, City of Binghamton. Work for the City of Binghamton. I also represent the men and women of the Binghamton Fire Department. And I just come down to stand in support of second read legislation ordinance 025-45. And just want to ask for your support. The equipment that's being purchased with those funds are much needed. And we need that to do our jobs. And I believe the proposal stands on its own merits and ask for council's support. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Just to double check. All right, Madam Clerk, any comments that need to be read into the record?
From Tarek Abdelazim, I am writing to strongly encourage City Council to reject Mayor Cram's proposal to use more than $350,000 in limited federal funds that are meant to support affordable housing, neighborhood development, and serve low-income individuals and families for the purchase of fire equipment and vehicles. It appears some members of City Council are worried that Mayor Cram will accuse them of not supporting the fire department if they vote no on this legislation. This is absurd and unfounded, both the petty accusation by the mayor and the fear by legislators. The Binghamton Fire Department received over $1.3 million in ARPA funds, which were flexible funds meant to help communities recover from COVID-19, to repair all fire stations and support the salaries of 3 firefighters. The Binghamton Fire Department is consistently the second highest funded department in the city's annual budget, which reliably receives City Council support. Past and current City Councils have supported allocating millions in local tax dollars to support the construction of a top-of-the-line new facility and headquarters for the fire department. Last year, Senator Webb awarded the Binghamton Fire Department more than $250,000 in state funds to help purchase a new fire truck, which supplemented more than $350,000 in local tax dollars committed to this new apparatus. Last year, Senator Schumer announced the Binghamton Fire Department would receive $1.8 million in federal funds to hire 8 new firefighters. These are impressive investments, and I support them all. Our Binghamton firefighters do far more than simply put out fires. They are critical first responders that, because of local taxpayer support, provide free ambulatory services to our loved ones in need. They engage in rescue operations and save lives. They help ensure buildings are safe and conduct proactive fire prevention efforts. I mention these federal, state, and local investments to demonstrate how any political attack on this legislative body for not supporting the fire department is patently absurd. The threat by Cram to politicize this decision echoes the same bullying, misleading tactics used by our shameful, corrupt president. It holds no water and seeks to sow division where none exists. Aside from local general funds, these CDBG dollars from the U.S. Housing and Urban Development Department represent the city's most flexible source of funding to tackle community priorities, and right now that is affordable housing. Rather than centering the mayor's political threats in this decision, the council should be asking more important questions. Why does the Cram administration have more than $700,000 in unspent CDBG funds when the city is reeling from an acute affordable housing crisis? Why didn't the Cram administration submit a 2025 budget that reflected the supposed urgent need of vehicles? Why doesn't the Cram administration simply propose a 2026 budget that reflects these supposed urgent need vehicles? I'm sure the City Council can promise tonight that if such vehicles are included in the mayor's proposed 2026 budget next month, they will unanimously support this investment in the fire department. That's 4 months from now, hardly a display of ignoring the department's equipment needs. I'll tell you why Cram has made this proposal and then turned up the political heat on this council, because he has mismanaged both city finances and the CDBG funds for the last 4 years and wants to distract from his own incompetence, because he wants to present a phony slim budget with a 0 tax increase 1 month before the mayoral election and try to save his faltering re-election bid, because he cares more about political narratives than solving our community's housing crisis. I've been inspired by this legislative body standing together these last 8 months to push back against the constant manipulation, deception, and good old boy style politics from Mayor Cram, to demand that you all be treated with respect and afforded the resources and timely information to carry out your legislative duties and public service commitments, to uplift the urgent investments in neighborhoods and neighbors that have been ignored for far too long, to introduce policies that center the needs of local workers, tenants, and vulnerable residents in the usual cadre of wealthy developers, student landlords, and campaign donors. Voting no on this legislation is keeping in line with this much-needed display of public service by reiterating your support of past investments in the fire department and your commitment to support these vehicle investments in the 2026 budget. You can accomplish both goals, expressing your deep appreciation and support for the Binghamton Fire Department and ensuring these CDBG funds are directed to the more urgent housing and community development needs that each of you campaigned on. It's not an either or, and if the mayor wants to frame it that way and levy baseless accusations against this body for one vote, by all means let him indulge in the petty politics that so many of us are disgusted by and done with, and we'll be sure to let him know in November how disgusted and done we really are. Please stand together and show us the courage and service that has inspired many of us these last 8 months. Thank you for your consideration.
Is that the only comment? All right, we will close public comment and move on. We have no review of the mayoral veto, so we're moving on to second read legislation. It's introductory ordinance 025-45, considered in finance, and I'll hand it over to Councilmember Kavanaugh.
I'd like to motion to approve O2545, an ordinance to amend the 2025 CDBG budget to increase fire department equipment.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? A motion and a second. Discussion, please.
This is necessary ongoing equipment funding for the fire department. It's going to end up, it's merely a matter of what basket we choose to pay it out of, whether it's CDBG funding, which has piled up, which didn't pile up under our watch, which has been going back years, an issue. This is one way to clean it up. I will remind council that this can only be, the funds due to the structure of the spendability can only be spent on capital and not capital needs and not any service programming. This is turnout gear and replacement for med cars, both needs. If we don't take it out of the CDBG pot, that money will still be there. We'll still need to come up with another plan for it. And this is less than half of the funds available there. And we're going to have to budget for it. So I think this is the better way to do it and a better way to get money into the fire department's hands now. We can, there are other unrestricted funds to be used in other pursuits. That's my 2 cents.
Anyone else?
Yeah, this equipment is absolutely a valid need. There's not a single member of this council who feels or has stated otherwise. But community development block grant funding is not an appropriate source, and it is far from the only source. Since this ask was introduced, council has discovered 2 things. First, that grant funding as well as other current and future budget mechanisms exist to support this ask. And second, that over $700,000 of CDBG funding is sitting unspent in the city's budget. Very specifically, $700,000 that instead of being allocated to support critical affordable housing development or preservation efforts has been left unencumbered. This mismanagement and missed opportunity to target critical capital to underserved and disinvested neighborhoods itself is unacceptable, but it's also far from the first time that Mayor Cram has responded to a financial need presented by a department by turning immediately to CDBG dollars. That is not why they exist. We have extremely low income and low income neighborhoods in need of capital, and you're absolutely correct, Councilmember Kavanaugh. This can only be allocated to capital use. And the number one need that we all know is critical to the city is the development of deeply affordable housing and the preservation of deeply affordable housing. The fact that Mayor Cram has allowed over the last several years that amount of funding to simply accrue, again, unallocated, unencumbered, and then has demonstrated a pattern of turning to siphon it immediately when another need presents itself is the issue that I certainly have with this ask. And I think consistently have represented, again, not a single member does not want to support the need presented by the fire department and the union. But it's been said on record that there are other ways to fund this, and CDBG is simply not a responsible source.
Anyone else?
Well, I think I'd say too, it's unfair, truly, of Mayor Cram to put the department and the union in this position. I mean, again, the proposal does stand on its own, 100%. But the source and the pattern of siphoning from that source and leaving other critical needs unmet, the department and the union shouldn't have been put in that position in the first place when other funding mechanisms exist. That's the irresponsible part. That's the unacceptable part. And it's a pattern that I am not comfortable allowing to continue.
Just to reiterate, I agree with Councilmember Rathmel. I think this is an appropriate way to do our budgeting, that it's been this long and this money's been sitting there, and it should have been spent on housing long ago, but the next best time is right now. I'm happy to support the fire department and the fire union during budget season to make sure that all their needs are met in terms of equipment. But right now, this just doesn't feel appropriate to me, and I'll be voting against it.
Yeah.
I'm interested in hearing more voices.
So for me personally, I can't say that I disagree with Councilmember Rathmel. I think this money should have been used more towards housing. I think it's kind of a fucking joke that we were put in a position of it's us against the fire department or the union. For me, I have a lifelong track record of never voting against the union, never crossing a picket line, never being anti-union in any way, shape, or form. So the fact that I have to make a choice between either putting money towards housing or something that at my core I believe in 100% makes this a real difficult vote for me. And the fact that, that it was used as a slush fund to do this and put us, the union, and the fire department in this situation, I think was a joke. So that's all I have. Anyone else? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, do a roll call.
Councilmember Rathmel,
No.
Councilmember Matavetsky,
Yay.
Councilmember Hotchkiss,
Nay.
Councilmember Kavanaugh,
Yay.
Councilmember Murray,
No.
Council President Dundon.
Hardest vote I ever did, but I'm going to stick to my core and I'm going to say yay because I will vote for the union.
That's 3-3.
Fails.
Okay, moving on to first read legislation. Move on to introductory ordinance 025-52 considered in finance, and I'll hand it over to Councilmember Kavanaugh.
I'd like to motion to adopt O2552, an ordinance to amend the 2025 general fund budget for over budget lines.
I have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. Discussion.
We're basically beefing up overtime lines that have been swallowed up by both the harsh winter and then some of the storms we've had recently to bring us to a level place before the end of the year.
Anyone have anything they want to add? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, can we do a roll call, please?
Councilmember Rathmel,
Aye.
Councilmember Matavetsky,
Aye.
Councilmember Hotchkiss,
Aye.
Councilmember Kavanaugh, Councilmember Middleton's absent, Councilmember Murray,
Aye.
Council President Dundon.
Aye.
Thank you. That is 6-0.
Moving on to introductory ordinance 025-53 considered in finance, and I'll hand it over to Councilmember Kavanaugh.
Okay. So this is, I'd like to motion to pass O2553, an ordinance to amend 2025 water budget the water fund for additional professional services.
A motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second, discussion, please.
Essentially, these are transfers within the water fund coming out of their gas and fuel line and their personal services and moving into professional services to handle some more outside work.
Anyone have anything they'd like to add? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, can we do a roll call?
Councilmember Rathmel? Sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Aye.
Councilmember Matavetsky?
Aye.
Councilmember Hotchkiss? Councilmember Kavanaugh?
Aye.
Councilmember Murray is absent. Councilmember Middleton?
You said that backwards.
Excuse me. Councilmember Middleton is absent. Councilmember Murray. Too fast. Council President Dundon?
Aye.
Thank you. That is 6-0.
So next is introductory ordinance 025-54. Before I hand it over to Councilmember Kavanaugh as Chair of the Finance Committee, I'd like to make a motion to amend the bill. Oh, I got to get on the floor first for the amendment. Okay, sorry about that. So then I will pass it over to Councilmember Kavanaugh.
I'd like to motion to adopt 025-54, an ordinance to amend the 2025 fire budget for engine repair.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. I'd like to make a motion to amend Roman numeral 6 and change from revenue line to expense budget line and A3410-54112 to A3410-54110, and instead of gas and fuel for vehicle parts. Can I have a second on the amendment?
Second.
Having a motion and a second. Does anyone have anything they'd like to discuss about the amendment?
Yeah, sorry, I didn't catch the cause. I don't know if I missed an email. But
I'm sorry, what part didn't you get with the budget line?
No, I mean,
Why is it
like,
being amended?
yeah, why is it being amended?
So it was inadvertently repeated. So if you look at Roman numeral 4, it actually lists the same line twice. And so we just need to update the budget number for it so that accurately reflects what that budget number is.
Yeah,
This is all for the repairs for engine and for the fire department.
Anyone else? So we have a motion and a second for the amendment. Madam Clerk, do a roll call, please.
Councilmember Rathmel?
Aye.
Councilmember Matavetsky?
Aye.
Councilmember Hotchkiss?
Aye.
Councilmember Kavanaugh?
Aye.
Councilmember Middleton is absent. Councilmember Murray?
Aye.
Council President Dundon?
Aye.
Thank you. That is 6-0.
So the amendment passed back to the original ordinance, or back to the ordinance, I'm sorry. It's amended. No discussion? Madam Clerk, can we do a roll call?
Councilmember Rathmel?
Aye.
Councilmember Matavetsky?
Aye.
Councilmember Hotchkiss?
Aye.
Councilmember Kavanaugh?
Aye.
Councilmember Middleton is absent. Councilmember Murray?
Aye.
Council President Dundon?
Aye.
Thank you. That is 6-0.
Moving on to introductory resolution R25-50, considered in Public Works, and I'll hand it over to Councilmember Hotchkiss.
Make a motion to adopt introductory resolution R25-50. This is a resolution to authorize an agreement with Hubert Engineering.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
A motion and a second. Discussion.
So this is just to allow the city to enter an agreement with Hubert Engineering for surveying services, not to exceed $50,000. Pretty straightforward.
Guessing no one has anything to add. Madam Clerk, we'll do a roll call.
Councilmember Rathmel?
Aye.
Councilmember Matavetsky?
Aye.
Councilmember Hotchkiss?
Aye.
Councilmember Kavanaugh?
Aye.
Councilmember Middleton is absent. Councilmember Murray?
Aye.
Council President Dundon?
Aye.
Thank you. That is 6-0.
Next is introductory resolution R25-51, considered in Public Works, and I'll hand it over to Councilmember Hotchkiss.
Make a motion to adopt introductory resolution R25-51. This is a resolution to enter supplemental agreement number 5 with Barton and Legitis for USA COE.
I'll second the motion. So we have a motion and a second. Discussion.
This is related to ongoing required work by the DEC to, I think, for flood mitigation work and inspection of pipes and other infrastructure.
Anyone have anything they want to add?
I-
Hearing, go ahead.
I think we had some discussion at the work session about this, that like this is the 5th supplemental agreement, and the DEC keeps kind of finding new things for us to work on. So it makes it a little bit difficult to plan for what's going to be required. And there was a question if the DEC provides any funding, at least from me, and they don't. So it's kind of they make the requirements, and then we're up to figuring out how to get it all done. So that's a little bit of work I did on that one.
Yep. Anyone else? Madam Clerk, can we do a roll call, please?
Councilmember Rathmel?
Aye.
Councilmember Matavetsky?
Aye.
Councilmember Hotchkiss?
Aye.
Councilmember Kavanaugh?
Aye.
Councilmember Middleton is absent. Councilmember Murray?
Aye.
Council President Dundon?
Aye.
Thank you. That is 6-0.
Next is introductory resolution R25-52, considered in municipal and public affairs, and I will hand this over to Councilmember Matavetsky.
I'd like to make a motion to introduce Resolution R25-52, resolution to extend agreement for school resource officers 2025 to 2026.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? I'll second the motion. Discussion.
All right, so this is the contract that we've done previously, updated with current salaries and current dates for having SROs in Binghamton City Schools.
Yeah, this will provide 3 SROs, one to East and West Middle School, and then one to Binghamton High School.
So I did reach out I watched the work session. I wasn't there for the meeting. But I did reach out to current and past teachers in the South Side. They had very positive things to say about the program. One spoke about stability, peace of mind, and that some kids that didn't really relate to teachers necessarily were out there talking and engaging with officers, and it was basically another adult in the room that people could bond with. Another spoke really positively about Officer Farber, who's in East Middle School, and their previous SRO Armando, and how well they broke up fights and de-escalated things. And for Officer Farber, they mentioned the connection, particularly with female students, making bracelets and bonding with folks over at East Middle School. One of the teachers told me teachers are asked to do a lot without an SRO. Teachers would be expected to be teachers, social workers, and security. So there was, and last year I represented that I spoke to a constituent from an area of my district that is heavily policed, who is has had a history of run-ins with the police, particularly in their youth, and they were much more comfortable sending their kids to school with an SRO, which was not necessarily, I wasn't looking for a particular answer when I reached out. So those are my conversations in preparation for the vote this year.
Thank you so much. Anyone else?
I think I would just want to remind council that there's no evidence that SROs effectively improve school safety or reduce violence within schools. We were presented with no data to demonstrate that the objectives or goals identified in this program have been or are being accomplished. There is, however, evidence that indicates the presence of SROs negatively impacts students' perceptions of safety in school. There's also evidence that disparities within disciplinary actions taken by SROs in schools mimic the same racial And disability-related disparities we see in selective enforcement and disproportionate impact in community settings. If teachers see a need for students to have someone to bond with and make bracelets with, then we should be funding more social workers and support staff, not spending over $90K on law enforcement on law enforcement officers to stand there among students.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I think
Curious, Councilwoman Matavesky, thank you for reaching out to adults. And I just wanted to clarify the feedback that you received, if any of it included statements from students or if they were all from adults.
No, I did not. My conversations today were with a current and a past teacher,
Teachers. Okay.
and previously with a mother who has a history of being active in PTA.
Thank you.
Councilmember Hotchkiss?
yeah, I think my conclusions on this pretty much mirror Councilmember Rathmel's. If you try to dig for research that has a definitive answer about whether or not SROs in schools improve safety, there's nothing that really backs that up or supports it. However, there's a lot of positive where am I going? Improving safety and addressing issues through counselors and restorative practices actually does improve safety in schools and reduces violence. And I think that really should be, if the city is getting involved with trying to reduce violence or increase safety in schools, that's the angle I would think we should approach that way, rather than just continuing this same contract that keeps getting renewed. Basically, just there's these anecdotal stories that I think are valuable about people's relationships with the SROs in schools, but I think at a certain point we have to take a deeper look at the data and research as these programs have been implemented and enforced over the years. And I think if there isn't a clear, definitive answer that they increase safety, I think we should actually be questioning how we're spending these resources, and look towards the solutions that are actually proven to be effective. So, and I welcome anyone proving me wrong on this, that there's evidence that they increase safety. I welcome that and I'm open to it. I just haven't come across it and it hasn't been presented to me. That's all I have to add.
So I'll quickly share that I've spent almost 8 years in one of the buildings, the Binghamton City School District, that has had resource officers. I have seen firsthand the connections that are made with students and families. And I guess I would say the benefits of students establishing those relationships in schools and then seeing those officers within their communities, right? So I do, I think in all fairness to that whole process, right? I want to be able to highlight that. However, I feel like this relationship has been established long enough where there should be some like formal data and evidence other than anecdotal, I don't know, data to really substantiate the decision that we're making. And I have not seen that. And I think that that's something that's definitely needed. In addition, I agree that it is important to really consider what are other resources that are needed. And I think about even the response, Councilwoman Matavesky, that you shared regarding a teacher saying that, you know, the burdens of being a social worker, a security officer, and all of these other things. I know that there are several buildings within the district that has school safety officers, and I would be curious to understand kind of where that role ends and then where the role of a having a SRO begins. And then I'm also curious to, find out like, where's the data that substantiates this, as well as having more school counselors, and restorative practices and building communities using those ways to support our students and their families.
I think to echo aspects of that, I was speaking to a mother yesterday who has a son in the high school, and in looking and talking with other parents and hearing from teachers entering the new school year, talk about how support staff have been reduced and how mental health needs are increasing. And again, to reiterate, there are absolutely critical mental health and support needs, counseling needs, social worker needs in terms of connecting households and children to services. All of that is preventive and much more effective at increasing safety and reducing not only current but perpetual violence. And if we have the opportunity to allocate resources to preventive measures that have been proven, as opposed to a pretense of some kind of public safety that has not been proven, in a way that doesn't put students at risk. I mean, yes, there are stories of students who don't typically engage or have contact with law enforcement during their high school years or their middle school years or after. That is one demographic. But there are also kids in over-policed and over-criminalized neighborhoods and demographics who exit high school and have to engage with officers in not a positive or safe way. And if we can protect them in any way in that regard, I don't see why we're not looking at alternative options with demonstrated efficacy.
So I have two more things that I want to, one is a question and well, they're both questions. So the first is that, and I don't even know if this is like the right forum, but when you're talking about like the over policing of youths, I am curious to find, like, is it possible that we can request data prior to like voting on this? Like, can we hold this over?
So what we have is the survey data from the school district.
What was that?
But putting this back in, this is a request from the school district to the city. Right.
Yes, to enter into agreement
enter
to
in-
have
yes,
sorrows
right,
into
right.
the schools, and what we're
The school board is interested in this, and they've done the survey work, which I heard you guys discussing at the work session. And as far as I could tell, there was not updated data. It's still the data that we were given the last time we voted on this. Was there updated data? No. Okay. So that's the data that we already have. But I mean, conceivably, we could take it to a committee meeting and invite the superintendent, the school in.
And I mean, survey data is challenging to represent as an entire analysis of metrics being met or objectives being accomplished. I mean, survey data, depending on who responded, how it was distributed. I mean, I'm not saying that those responses aren't valuable, but they're certainly not comprehensive or updated.
I mean, we can always amend this on the floor to have a follow-up student survey, student success and graduation rates, and if it does lower violence rates, and add that to the bill and amend it right here on the floor, and then vote it, or we can send it back to a committee meeting if the committee and other council members want to talk to the superintendent.
To see it go to a committee meeting, because I also have questions like, what training do the officers receive in order to be able to effectively provide the level of support that they are asked to. I think being in a school is going to be very different than the typical work, and so I have some questions related to that.
Councilmember Matavetsky, you're the only other member on the committee. Do you feel the same way? We'll do a motion to hold over.
I'm generally I didn't catch anything in the work session about this being like needing to be done immediately, but I do see that it's for 2025, 2026 school year, which starts next week. Is this the type of thing that we could,
Corp Counsel, what kind of
Yeah, like-
timeline are we on?
Let's see, let me pull up the agreement. I think that it kind of is a close timeline with it, just because with school starting, we want something in place for everyone.
so conceivably we could have a committee meeting tomorrow and a special business meeting on Friday or something like that?
Yeah, I mean, the term of the last agreement would have expired as of June 30th of this year. So most likely, both from the school district's perspective and the city's perspective, we wouldn't really want the SROs in the school district without a signed agreement.
Well, then you could technically do a memorandum of understanding for a 2-week extension, and then therefore we could do it that way and just carry over the same contract.
I mean, you're talking about a 2-week extension from today?
Because if we held it over
or-
today, we wouldn't be able to vote on it to the next business meeting, which would be, you have the first week of school next week and then following into the second week of school.
Yes, although the way these agreements are set up, they basically kind of go back. So this agreement starts July 1st of this year. So it covers the year, so it's continuous.
Oh, I gotcha.
So I mean, like theoretically, you could approve an agreement from like up until the next council meeting, and then, we're gonna have to approve and execute another agreement.
What date's the school start again?
I believe it's September
Next-
4th.
4th, I think.
I mean, I don't want to make the decision alone. We could either do a committee meeting, special business meeting, or hold it over for 2 weeks and then do a temporary agreement in the meantime. I don't want to make the decision on a council of 7, especially when I'm just ex officio on the committee.
And people can make a motion to hold over, and if someone seconds it, we've updated it, and then it's done, it's held over. I said that we
So with the updates we made to the code for city council, holdovers now just require a vote or a motion and a second. There's no vote required. So the idea was floated that if someone was looking to hold this over, they could make the motion, see if they could get a second.
Right, if you want to hold it over, all you have to do is make a motion to hold over, and if anyone seconds it, it's held over. And then we deal with the ramifications, figure it out.
Make a motion to hold over. R25-52.
So I heard we have a motion on a holdover as I was getting some legal advice. Do we have a second? Okay. Well, this will get held over until our next business meeting. Moving on to introductory resolution R25-53, considered in municipal and public affairs, and I'll hand it over to Councilmember Matavetsky.
I'd like to make a motion for introductory resolution R25-53, a resolution to accept grant funding from New York State Gun Involved Violence Elimination Give.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? I'll second the motion. A motion and a second. Discussion, please.
All right. So there were a bunch that were talked about at the same time. Let's see. So I want to make sure I get this one. So this is, as stated in the title, a resolution to accept grant money. There is no local match for this grant money. It goes towards to fund local law enforcement agencies for equipment, overtime, and personnel to reduce shootings and other firearm-related violent crime.
Yeah, the amount of the grant is for $360,753. Anyone have anything they'd like to add? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, can we do a roll call?
Councilmember Rathmel? Councilmember Matavetsky?
Aye.
Councilmember Hotchkiss?
Aye.
Councilmember Kavanaugh?
Aye.
Councilmember Middleton is absent. Councilmember Murray?
Aye.
Council President Dundon?
Aye.
Thank you. That is 5-1.
Next is introductory resolution R25-54, considered in municipal and public affairs, and I'll hand it over to Councilmember Matavetsky.
I'd like to make a motion for introductory resolution R25-54, a resolution to accept grant funds from New York State Division of Criminal Justice Services for Burn State Crisis Intervention.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? Motion and a second. Discussion, please.
Great. I just wanted to check because when I was watching the meeting, there was a discussion over emotionally disturbed person orders versus something else. Just want to make sure this was the right term in the version that we had.
I think so, yeah.
So this is for again, for receiving funding, local agencies for emotionally disturbed person orders, equipment, and resources. Great.
Uh-oh. Sure.
Just to make sure I'm keeping them all straight. Is this the one that some of the money goes toward, works with MHAST?
They've worked with MHAST before, yes. I don't know if it's actually for this grant or not, though.
Reason the sound is really terrible today. Is there anything we can do to get better sound?
I know I can't either. I can't tell if it's the buzzing or. I don't know where we're at with questions on this. Are we at discussion yet? We are. Okay. I mean, and I pointed this out when this was first introduced. I think the presumption, really false presumption that any mental health related instances can at all be effectively addressed by law enforcement has been effectively debunked, and is not conducive and is very often not safe to individuals with mental health challenges or who experience mental health related incidents. I think, again, this is the pretense of let's just shove law enforcement into a scenario because they can provide safety, and that's not over and over and over again how it occurs. Not only that, but including law enforcement ensuring that access to a mental health crisis service is only available through law enforcement contact effectively prohibits many community members from even considering accessing that kind of a resource. That is exactly why, for example, the Department of Social Services changed its Code Blue protocol from having to go through 911 and law enforcement to an alternative after hours number. It's a barrier for individuals who are concerned about law enforcement contact when they're facing a mental health crisis.
Anyone else? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, could we do a roll call?
Councilmember Rathmel,
No.
Councilmember Matavetsky,
Aye.
Councilmember Hotchkiss,
Aye.
Councilmember Kavanaugh,
Aye.
Councilmember Middleton is absent, Councilmember Murray,
No.
Council President Dundon.
Aye.
Thank you. It is 4-2.
Moving on to introductory resolution R 25-55, considered in municipal and public affairs, and I'll hand it over to Councilmember Matavetsky.
All right. Back over here. I'd like to make a motion for introductory resolution R 25-55, a resolution to accept US DOJ Edward Byrne JAG grant fiscal year 24.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? A motion and a second. Discussion.
This is money for having uniformed police officers in city parks during summer months. There is no local match. And this is the one that has the estimated date of completion as September 30th, 2027. I guess when I speak to people, they often say they would like to see more police outside of their cars, walking around and engaging with the community. I believe it was last year, at one of the work sessions, they encouraged us to go for a walk with an officer in a park. And I did do that on the Greenway one of the days last year. And they were a former SRO officer. They knew everybody in the park. It was kind of one of these funny experiences being an elected official, and the officer I was walking with was more famous and beloved in the South Side than myself. But it's definitely something that I've heard people ask for, and when I did the walk with them, they were received very positively by people in the South Side.
Anyone else?
And my kind of question is, I can't remember if this was brought up, but why is this going back to FY 24 and the next one's going back to FY 23? Are we?
I think that would be the Department of Justice Corp Counsel. Why, do you know why it would say for year 24?
I do not know off the top of my head.
The
And
next
there-
one's 2023.
Yeah, I
it
think
would-
there is a lag between the funding and then the completion date for when they expect all this to be done. But I don't have a concrete answer I can give you off the top of my head.
Thank you.
Okay.
Anything else?
Mystery continues.
All right. Anyone have anything else? Hearing none, Madam
Yeah,
Clerk, can we do?
whoa.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so the theory of community policing and deploying additional patrols, saying that they're needed in parks to, quote, improve community relations and provide safer communities. Again, we have anecdotes from individuals who have never had negative contact with law enforcement ever, and likely won't. When you talk to individuals who are in positions that are vulnerable and are targeted by law enforcement, for example, unhoused individuals, for example, extremely poor and individuals with mental health challenges and presenting symptoms. When you speak to the individuals who are directly impacted negatively by law enforcement, this does not present a safer community for them, and it certainly doesn't improve community relations. Neighbors and business owners may like this patrol and this program, but it does not produce actual effective results. We've gotten no data. The only activity implemented by this program, when you consider community policing as a philosophy, The only activity that's been represented by the mayor's office is bike and foot patrols. That's not community policing. Community policing is a philosophy, and it's only effective, or can potentially be effective, at reducing crime and producing safer communities when efforts to foster trust and communication have consistently been implemented. And that is not what we have even come close to seeing in the city of Binghamton. The state of our police department, the comments we're receiving from residents, those who have actually had law enforcement contact in a way where they felt targeted, not because they were committing a crime, but and I'll say for the demographic I'm most familiar with and engage with regularly, no crime, they simply have nowhere else to go. Being in parks, not even after park hours, and being targeted by law enforcement. That may make a downtown business owner feel somewhat safer, but it's not producing actual safety. We are not in a moment in our community where community policing can be claimed to be effective. We have a culture issue. No, but I don't think anyone disagrees with that. We have a chief of police who is on leave and under investigation for a second time. We have a leadership issue. We have an oversight issue. And to continue throwing money at this department and this pretense of public safety when it's not actually providing the objectives that it claims is irresponsible.
Are you
have-
finished, Councilmember Rathmel? I didn't want to cut you off. Okay.
We have parks open in the summer. We have special events in the summer and the fall that require more feet on the ground. We have to pay for those feet on the ground somehow. This is a federal grant that helps offset those costs. I do not disagree that there are things in the Binghamton Police Department that should change, that there are policies and approaches that could be more robust and updated and more equitable for more of our community. But we're talking about essentially seasonal policing when we need more feet on the ground. And that's what this pays for. And I don't think that every single, I don't think that every single budget line necessarily has to be a place to take a moral stand. And you may disagree with me, and that's fine.
Anyone else? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, can we do a roll call?
Councilmember Rathmel,
No.
Councilmember Matavetsky,
Aye.
Councilmember Hotchkiss,
Aye.
Councilmember Kavanaugh,
Aye.
Councilmember Middleton is absent, Councilmember Murray. Sure. Council President Dunnan.
Aye.
Thank you. That is 5-1.
Moving on to introductory resolution R 25-56, considered in municipal and public affairs, and I'll hand it over to Council Member Matavetsky.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion for introductory resolution R 25-56, a resolution to accept USDOJ Edward Byrne JAG grant fiscal year 2023.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? I'll make the second. A motion and a second has been made. Can we have a discussion?
It's basically identical to the previous one. What estimated date of completion is September 26. No local match required.
Anyone have any comments they would like to add? No one? Okay. Madam Clerk, can we do a roll call?
Councilmember Rathmel?
No.
Councilmember Matavetsky?
Aye.
Councilmember Hotchkiss?
Aye.
Councilmember Kavanaugh?
Aye.
Councilmember Middleton is absent. Councilmember Murray? Council President Dundon?
Aye.
Thank you. That is 5-1.
We will move on to communications from council, and I will start in numerical order. So we'll start with Councilmember Murray.
don't have any at this time.
Councilmember Kavanaugh?
As I'm sure everyone's aware, Porchfest is this weekend. We welcome the greater Binghamton community to the west side for a fun-filled day of music and social interaction, and hopefully in a safe, enjoyable way. So I will thank in advance DPW for some of their heroic efforts that they put out to keep the west side clean after this coming weekend, and of course to our public safety departments as well for being there, and particularly the auxiliary police that are going to be at a lot of those intersections, keeping the crazy cars out. So everyone come and enjoy.
Thank you. Councilmember Hotchkiss.
No communications tonight.
Councilmember Matavetsky.
Right. I want to say thank you to the Binghamton Fire Department for responding to the fire yesterday on Mill. Labor Day, no yard waste, Monday, September 1st. Please check the refuse schedule to remind yourself when your trash is being picked up. Councilman Rathmel and I celebrated Spice of India's 1 year. That was fun. So congratulations to Spice of India. Any business, a big deal. Going from 1 year, sitting here, Ross Park Zoo, its 150th year. So big congratulations to the Ross Park Zoo on making it to 150. Ross Park Zoo is having Pay What You Can on Labor Day. Check their website for details, but that's a great opportunity. I'd like to thank CARES for inviting me to help with the backpack distribution at Saratoga, which was a great way to engage and get to know constituents over there. We have, September 5th will be First Friday Art Show and free admission night from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. at the Discovery Center. We'll have a Glow Below magical underwater themed art show featuring glow-in-the-dark sea creatures created by the kids summer camp there. Free opportunity to check out the Discovery Center and all the big improvements they've been making. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Rathmel.
I want to address a handful of the public comments that were shared prior to our meeting. First, I fully support what was represented by, I believe, Miles Burnett and Andy Pregus regarding the opportunity to open up and have a community-driven process related to our next police chief. I think what is very clear is that we've received no indication from Mayor Cram that he is willing to consider any alternatives outside of the immediate civil service option presented. I think both Miles and Andy have represented alternatives worth considering. We've received no commitment from Mayor Cram that he's willing to even listen to residents or constituents who have brought comment after comment and concern after concern. The Southern Door Community Land Trust and the release of funds so that they can move forward with their 6 Florence Street project is a request that was very specifically made to Mayor Cram 2 weeks ago. We've received no indication that he is willing to remove that request. We've received no reason for his bias regarding adding that unnecessary and arbitrary clause to the Southern Door Community Land Trust agreement. We initially received word that his response to media was that there was no difference between the contracts. Of course, when we presented and copy pasted the exact language representing the differences in the contract, he then changed that story, and I believe continues to offer additional reasons, but none of which represent any legitimate excuse for that bias. So I think we continue to push on the release of that funding. And all in there.
I have nothing to communicate tonight, so I would like to take